There are four words that silently kill more dreams than fear ever could. Four words that have destroyed more potential than any obstacle you'll ever face. And here's the scary part. You've probably said them this week, maybe even today. I already know. Stay with me, because what I'm about to share will completely change how you see your own limitations. This isn't just another motivational video. This is about the invisible cage you've built around yourself without even realizing it. Let me tell you about Marcus. 28 years old, bachelor's degree in business, 3 years of experience in sales. Smart guy, confident, maybe too confident. One Tuesday morning, his manager announced a training session on customer psychology and new sales techniques. Marcus leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, and muttered to his colleague, "I already know this stuff. I've been doing sales for years." He skipped the training, went to grab coffee instead. 6 months later, Marcus watched from his desk as Jennifer, who'd been at the company for only 8 months, got promoted to senior sales associate. The same Jennifer who took notes during that training session. The same Jennifer who stayed after to ask questions. The same Jennifer who, by the way, Marcus had once considered less experienced than him. But here's where it gets interesting, and here's where you need to pay attention, because this is about to get personal. Marcus's story isn't unique. In fact, I'm willing to bet you've done the exact same thing. And before you say, "I already know where this is going," just remember, those are the four words we're talking about. Stay with me. See, Marcus didn't skip that training because he actually knew everything. He skipped it because of something far more dangerous, the comfort of certainty. Think about it. When you say, "I already know," what you're really saying is, "I don't want to be uncomfortable. I don't want to admit there might be gaps in my knowledge. I don't want to feel like a beginner again." The human brain craves certainty. It craves mastery. It craves the feeling of being right. And "I already know" gives us that instant hit of superiority without having to do any of the actual work. But here's the brutal truth that most people never realize. The moment you say, "I already know," is the exact moment you stop growing. And it gets worse. Want to know what happened to Marcus next? 3 months after Jennifer's promotion, the company brought in a consultant to teach a workshop on digital sales strategies and social media marketing. Marcus glanced at the email invitation and thought, "Social media? I'm on Instagram every day. I already know how this works." He didn't attend. Meanwhile, Jennifer implemented 3 strategies from that workshop. Within 2 months, her sales increased by 40%. Marcus's stayed flat. At his yearly review, his manager said something that hit him like a freight truck. "Marcus, you're good at what you do, but you've been the same level of good for 3 years now. We need people who are evolving." That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He kept replaying every training he'd skipped, every article he'd scrolled past, thinking, "I know this already." Every podcast he'd turned off after 2 minutes because he got the gist. He realized something horrifying. He'd become addicted to the feeling of knowing, and it had cost him everything. Now, before you think this is just about Marcus, let me ask you something. When was the last time you said, "I already know"? This week? Today? In the last hour? There's actually a term for what Marcus experienced. Psychologists call it the illusion of explanatory depth. It's when we think we understand something much better than we actually do. Researchers at Yale University did a fascinating study. They asked people to rate their understanding of how everyday objects work, like zippers or toilets. People gave themselves high ratings. Then they asked them to actually explain in detail how these objects work. Suddenly, people's confidence plummeted. They realized they didn't actually know what they thought they knew. This is the trap of "I already know." You know just enough to feel comfortable, but not enough to actually be competent. The most dangerous position you can be in is knowing 70% of something, because that 70% convinces you that you don't need the other 30. But that missing 30%, that's where the breakthrough lives. That's where the promotion lives. That's where the transformation lives. And here's what nobody tells you about those 4 words. Marcus made a decision that changed everything. He created what he called his beginner's mind rule. For every single training, workshop, book, or conversation, he would approach it as if he knew absolutely nothing. Even topics he'd studied before, even areas where he had experience, he forced himself to sit through the basics, to take notes on things that seemed obvious, to ask questions that might make him look uninformed. The first few weeks were excruciating. His ego screamed at him, "You're wasting your time, you know this already." But he pushed through. And something remarkable happened. In a training session on goal setting, a topic he'd heard about 100 times, the instructor mentioned one tiny technique Marcus had never encountered. That one technique helped him restructure his entire sales process. In a book he almost didn't read because the title seemed too basic, Chapter 7 contained a framework that doubled his productivity. In a conversation with an intern, yes, an intern, someone with a fraction of his experience, Marcus learned about a tool that automated half his administrative work. Within 1 year, Marcus went from being stuck at the same level to becoming the top performer in his division. But the real transformation wasn't in his sales numbers, it was in how he saw the world. Here's what I need you to understand, and this is the most important part of this entire video. Every single person you'll ever meet knows something you don't. Every book, even the ones that seem basic, contains at least one idea that could change your trajectory. Every experience, even the repetitive ones, offers a new lesson if you're humble enough to look for it. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who know the most, they're the ones who never stop being willing to learn. They're the ones who approach every situation thinking, "What can I discover here?" instead of, "I already know this." Jeff Bezos still takes beginner coding classes. Oprah still reads books on communication. LeBron James still works on his fundamentals every practice. Why? Because they understand something that Marcus learned the hard way. Growth doesn't happen in your comfort zone of knowledge. It happens in the uncomfortable space of, "I don't know, teach me." So here's my challenge to you. For the next 30 days, ban those 4 words from your vocabulary. Every time you feel them rising up, "I already know," replace them with, "What can I learn?" Attend that workshop you were going to skip. Read that book that seems too basic. Have that conversation with someone less experienced. Take notes even when the topic is familiar. Because the truth is, you don't already know. None of us do. And the moment you accept that is the moment everything changes. The question isn't whether you have knowledge. The question is, are you brave enough to admit what you don't know? Those 4 words, "I already know," they're not protecting your ego. They're building your prison. Break free. If this resonated with you, drop a comment telling me one thing you're going to approach with a beginner's mind this week. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, someone who's stuck because they think they already know everything, share this with them. Because the only thing more powerful than knowledge is the humility to keep seeking it. I'll see you in the next one. Now go learn something new.